Once you open Excel, click on File, and under this, click on Options. And here on the left hand side, you will see Add-in. So click on that. And if you just scroll down, you will be able to see Power BI. Right? So if you see here Power Pivot, Power Map. So Power Pivot is under the Comp add-in. So what you need to do is click here below under Manage, click on Comp add-ins, and then click on Go. Once you do that, it opens this pop-up here. Click on Power Pivot. That's all. Click OK, and you will see that this tab appears here. In the next video, we're going to see how do we import data. All of that, we are going to watch that in the next episode. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. In this episode, we are going to be looking at how do we import data specifically from Excel. There are other sources that you can import data from, but we are going to be focusing on how do we get data from Excel. So let me show you from my screen. There are two ways that you can get data or import data into Power Pivot using Excel. One is here, if you see, and I request you to download this file. The link is in the description to download this file so you can practice along. So if you see, this is a single workbook, and under that, I have three different sheets. I have the customer data, the product data, and the sales data. Please remember that whenever you are adding any data to Power Pivot, it has to be in a table format. If your data is not in a table format, okay, then you need to convert it into a table, or when you click on it, it is going to ask you to convert it into a table. First, let me show you. I'm going to convert this back into a normal range, which is now see here. Now this is not a table. And if I want to add this to the data model or to my Power Pivot, it is going to ask you. So one way is click on add to data model. Moment I do that, since this is not a table, you will see it is asking you to or convert, it is asking you to convert it into a table. And you can do this. So it is automatically taken the data, and ensure that if your table has a heading, ensure that you select my table has headers. Click OK, and it is converted into a table, and it is added it into the data model. Now the problem with this is, if you see, it is coming as table one, which is ideally not recommended. You can of course change the name here. You can change it to whatever name that you want. So this is our customer table. So I'm going to rename this to customer. So this is one way, which is you add it to the data model. Okay. If your data is already in table, I think that should have been the sales table. Okay. But let me come back here. Let's assume that your data or the data that you have is already in a table format. Then again, you can click on Power Pivot, and then you have this option which is add to data model. Now the advantage of doing this is you can give a name for your table. Those of you who are familiar with working with tables, all that you need to do is click on this, and the moment I do that, you will see that there is a new tab that appears here. If I'm outside, it is not there. So ensure that you are inside the table. And then when I click on table design, I get all of these options. And this is where I need to give a name for the table. You can give any name, but then it is advisable again to give a name that you can later relate with when you're trying to do your power pivots. It is easy to recognize which table it is. So it is better to give it a name that you can later relate with. Once you've given it a name, then let me go back to Power Pivot, and then here I can just click on add to data model. Moment I do that, you will see that it gets added as a product. Yeah, so whatever name that you're giving for the table there in Excel, that is what comes here. Okay. Let me show you how you can also delete it, because this should ideally have been the sales table. So I'm going to right click and delete. That's done. Now let us go back and then try and add the other data. So we have the product. This should have been sales. Okay. Now how do we add it? Click on add to data model. It gets added. Okay. Again, there I didn't give it a name. Same mistake. So I'm going to delete this once again. Go back here. First, let us change the name of the table in Excel. Okay. How do we do that? Once again, let me go back to Excel. How do we go back? Switch back. So if you see here, there is an option here which is switch to workbook. Or, of course, like any other tab, you can click on it and start. How do we change the name of the table? So I click here, go to table design, and then change. So if you see here, the name is table one. I'm going to call this as a sales table. Now go back to our Power Pivot and then add to data model. And now you will see the name appears as sales. So we have product and sales. So this is one way of adding your data from Excel, from the Excel workbook directly into Power Pivot. Now let me also show you another way to add the data. And if you see here, this is what I was talking about. You can get data from your SQL, from Access, from services or Power. Then you have data feeds, you have other sources, and you will see all the different sources that you can get your data from. You can get it from SQL Server, from Azure, Access, Oracle, Sybase. Okay, so these are different places that you can get your data from. You can also get data from a text file. If your data is in a CSV format, you can also import it. The other method of importing the file is here. If you see here, we have an Excel file. Click on that. Click next. And here again, what I've done is, if you see in our workbook, what we have is we had a single workbook with different tabs. Right? We had the customer tab, we had the orders tab, and the products tab. So that is one way. Or you could have separate files for each of these. You could have a separate workbook, which is as your product table or no, as your sales workbook, all of that. That's also another possibility. Now, let me show you the other way. I'm going to click on browse, look for that Excel file. So this is a file. And if you see here, I have also these separate files. I will share these as well as separate workbooks so you can also use that. It is not allowing you to open it because the workbook is open. So I'm going to go there and close that workbook. Yeah, so what has happened here is now, and this is one of the common errors you will see. What has happened is since I've imported these two using that, using the Power Pivot, it is not allowing me to import it through this. So I will show you another way that we do this. So I'm going to cancel this and then of course go back to my data here and now try and add. So we have added the product table and the sales table. Let me go back here. I need to add the customer as well, right? We have the product and sales. We have the product and the sales. We want to add the customer data. So let me go back here and then click on add to model. And you will see the customer table also gets added. So we have the product, sales, and the customer table imported here. Now in the next video, I'm going to show you how do we add excuse me. In the next video, I'm going to show you how do we add, like I kind of showed you earlier, from Power Pivot, how do we add the data? That's something that I'm going to show you in the next video. So here's how you can add the data from Power Pivot. So we have Power Pivot, and then I click on Manage, and then we go to Other Sources, scroll down to Excel file, click Next, and now choose that file. You have an option to test connection to check if it is working. It says test is complete. You will say use first row as column headers. If you don't have that, right? So there's a possibility if you're importing it, your first row as your headers, you can do that. But since I already have a separate header, I'm not going to click this. I'm just going to click on next. And here it is going to show you all the different, and again, see, it is recognizing it as a table. And I can select all of them and then click on. So I'm going to say select and then click on finish. You will see it is given you a success. It is also telling you the number of rows that has been added or transferred to Power Pivot. Click close and you can see it is creating all of those tables here separately. So this is the second way of importing the data to Excel, which is you import them together, not from the Excel workbook, but directly from the Power Pivot. Let me show you if the files are different. So the one problem with files being in different workbooks is you will have to manually import each of them. And let me show you that in the next video. So import separate workbooks. Again, click on manage. We are doing this from the from Power Pivot directly. Let me close these or delete them because we don't need them now. Okay. Let me try also. Okay, completely blank. And then again from other sources, I go to Excel file, click next, and here I have these individual files. So click on customer, click open. Okay. Again, if you want, you can test the connection to check if it is there, or you can directly just go next, finish. Now it is added the customer table. So like this, you can also individually import these separate files. So that's another way of doing it. Let me quickly add the other ones as well. So if you see here, the one challenge with this is if you have multiple workbooks, separate data, then you will have to manually import each one of them. Okay, I'm not clicking the text connection now and click on finish. Success done. One more file that I have, click on other sources. Again, go to Excel file, click next, select the file, last one, next, and finish. And these are the three different ways that you can import your Excel file or data into Power Pivot. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.